Man like candy in the summer. Don't act like a bummer. Got him moving through the nighttime. And she sour like a ripe lime. And she mighty fine, so let's move it. And we get it two-stepping like we three-footed. Got me feeling like I'm in my new prime. Let's get it alright, alright. I just wanna have some fun. I wanna have some fun tonight, yeah. I just wanna have some fun. I wanna have some fun tonight, yeah. I just wanna have some fun. I wanna have some fun tonight, yeah. I just wanna have some fun. Have some fun. Have some fun tonight. So let's move it. Pick it pleasant like a venom. Got me rocking all denim. Got her moving through the nighttime. Like it's the only one we gonna find. Since she mighty fine, so let's move it. And we get it two-stepping like we three-footed. Got me feeling like I'm in my new prime. Let's get it alright, alright. I just wanna have some fun. I wanna have some fun tonight, yeah. I just wanna have some fun. I wanna have some fun tonight, yeah. I just wanna have some fun. I wanna have some fun tonight, yeah. I just wanna have some fun. I wanna have some fun tonight, yeah. I just wanna have some fun. I wanna have some fun tonight, yeah. I just wanna have some fun. Have some fun. Have some fun tonight. So let's move it. So let's move it. So let's move it.
Right.
Hey,
Asman,
hello.
you're already there. How are you?
Hey, good man. How are you, man? Yunus, is
Okay,
it?
finally. Yes, of course,
Finally,
mate. Finally.
long,
Uh,
long time no
all
see,
right,
man.
good. We don't have much. We don't have much, mate. We're gonna have it's just 15 minutes. I want to shoot
Yeah,
some
sure.
questions to you, but before
Yeah,
that,
go ahead.
to the audience watching this, thank you very much for coming online. To watch the pilot program for Between Two Halves. My name is Yunus. I'm one of the curators from BahasBola. Together with us is Hazman from Kitaman. Right, Kitaman is a company that is a promoter for esports. So he'll be coming up here, and he's here already actually to talk to us, right, to discuss with us about whether or not gamers can be deemed or can be considered as athletes. Now, Asman, straight to the first question. You ready?
Yeah, man. Yeah,
Yeah.
go.
All
Come
right.
on,
Now,
shoot me, man.
I want to know. I want to know what your views are. Because last year, end of last year, the International Olympic Committee
Hmm.
um, um, made a U-turn statement and said that only esports that are associated with contemporary sports are potentially able to be considered as sports. What are your views on that? Is it a move forward or is it a move backwards for esports as a whole?
Okay, thank you, Yunus. If my opinion maybe not gonna be in the favor of others. So if you ask me, right, let's say video games. Since ages ago, video games are in the form of entertainment, and when we relate all these things to esports, right? Basically, all we need to know is understand the definition of what is esports actually. Is I think I need to go through this so that everyone can understand what is esports. So esports
Okay.
is a definition whereby is a form of competitive video gaming whereby as long as you have any video games, doesn't matter, you play football games, Dota, shooting games, or whatever, as long that you have a competitive element among your competitor or between two people, that is esports. So when Olympic committee says that you need to be a game based on contemporary sports. Well, I think it doesn't really actually you know a way forward or a way backward for esports, because the way I see it, esport is in the form of a different industry or different spectrum or a different kind of show. Like say, I think esports can stand on its own without having to rely on Olympics, Sea Games, or what upper Commonwealth Games, or world endurance, whatever. Because let's put it this way, if you see, for example, right, Formula One or any other sport racing in the world, right, they don't belong in Olympics. So why should esports belong in Olympics? Similar to, let's say, world wrestling entertainment, right? So the way I see esports is, in the end of the day, it's gonna be the form of entertainment. That's all. It's just how you portray or you position esports to the audience is what people want to see.
All right.
So yeah,
Let me get this right. So you think
yeah,
that there's the debate and this talks and discussions about, or efforts in pushing esports as a sport recognized by the Olympic Committee is actually a waste
yeah.
of time.
I'm not saying it's a waste of time. People, whatever you want to do is up to them. You want to be in the Olympics. You want to be recognized. As or legitimate sports. Or it's not a waste of time. But if is an element, atau is being a part of the medal games and part of the Olympics, that is a
Hmm.
bonus for us. That is a bonus. It's just say that okay,
Okay.
esports is one of the thing that, oh hey, look, if you play esports very good, you can be in the Olympics. So I think you have a story there, right? But in your day, looking at the way forward, it's not just about being in the Olympic. It's being about being part of its own world, whereby you have your own. In Malaysia, you call it penganut atau worshippers. I think that was matters. In the end of the day.
All right. I think one of the biggest predicament, right, why the Olympic Committee was difficult in giving the status to esports is due to the fact that there's a lot of elements in within esports um, that is considered elements that are not in line with the spirit of Olympism. Yeah. So the research
Yeah,
that we did recently, yeah, the reason that we did recently also showed that there's the public perception towards esport is that as a sport people recognize it, right, because it has some mental and physical activities involved in it. But when it comes
yep.
to the concerns on ethics, right, a lot of people
Mm,
are still very negative. The perception is still very negative. I think there's a I think there's an immediate connotation that when people talk about esports, the thing that comes to their mind is addiction. That the sports
yep.
is very gladiatorial. It's
Yep.
gory, especially games like Call of Duty and whatnot. So,
Yep.
but I mean, what are the efforts in within your industry that is being done now to ensure that the public perception is being managed?
Okay. Well, I think let's go back to the root cause. Yeah, I think most of the laymen nowadays they're still, if they're still confused. Between what is esports and video games. So when we say esports, oh, it's video games. You tend to relate them with addiction. Waste of time. That is being the stigma, I think, for the past, since video game was ever born, right? And
Yeah.
what the industry is doing right now, or the body, national body for esports in Malaysia. I think uh it's about doing a campaign, or doing a, what you call it, how we can tell to the public, to compare between what is esports and video gaming. The reason why, because I think since maybe if I relate back, to the previous government, since they took over in 2018, we had the youth minister, that he's being championing esports. And at least that was an effort to say that esports is it not just about playing video games. If we look deeper, it's all about what the industry tends to do. Even Kitaman or all the other sports company in Malaysia, what they're trying to do, is basically educate the people. In esports, you have the elements of an actual industry working for the mass public. For example, when we say video games, it's about me and you playing game. That's all. We play FIFA together. You lose, I lose. I get cocky and I just trash talk with you. But but when we talk about esports, it's just number one, it's about players, or athletes or whatever you want to call it, e-athletes. That doesn't really matter. And but beyond that, in creating a very successful esports events or competition, you just have to think about the people behind it, just how normal sports works, right? You have the players, and who are behind the
Mhm.
players? You have managers, you have the coaches, you have the, I don't know, maybe you have the nutritionists or the physicians, or you have the, if even you maybe you have Roman Abramovich of esports itself. And beyond that, you have the media part, where you have the commentators, you have the production team, especially the production team, for example, ballers, they are doing this live production. It's the same, as the real sports. So it's about educating people what is esports, rather than we go out there, esports is about video game. I think the what happened before, before this is based on my observation. It's just people promoting esports as a pro gaming. That's all, without taking into consideration of the backbone and the the industry or the ecosystem behind it. In making an esports. I hope
So you're saying,
I'm.
so you're saying, yeah. I mean, I pretty much understand what you're saying. You're saying that,
Yeah.
um, the negative perception coming from the
Yep.
public stems from the
Yep.
fact that they're looking at esports as just another game,
Yeah, they
right?
just see, oh,
Which
esports,
is
people
considered to
playing game.
be.
That's all.
Yeah, but I mean the context is a bit more, professional and sophisticated, right? I mean,
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
there's discipline,
Yep.
there's a certain schedule that you need to follow, and as you said, right, there are certain clubs that will probably provide nutritionists,
Yeah.
psychologists to look into the mental health of these players.
Even salary.
Um,
Right.
is that setup that you mentioned, is it prevalent here in Malaysia, or I mean, like big clubs here in Malaysia, because I'm not very familiar with esports here in Malaysia, right? But big clubs here in Malaysia, do they have such a huge regime, players only allowed to play or like to practice for 6 8 hours, and then there'll be managers, people like Roman Abramovich, you see, the esports
Yeah.
version of Roman Abramovich. What's the setup like, because I think that's the thing that a lot of people are missing.
Yeah, well, this is also based on my observation. If we compare to the states and Europeans, so they have this so-called professional organization, whereby in Malaysia, there's a lot of self-proclaimed professional organization. If I give you an example, right? No, no, this is like still based on my observation. There's one tournament A, right? So this team, called, maybe SOX, for example, right? So they basically won the tournament. The prize pool was 10,000 ringgit, so they won 10,000 ringgit. So the next day, they self-proclaimed they are a professional team because they won this kind of X amount of money. Okay, continue that. So you have like 10 of these teams. So this month you have a tournament, next month you have a tournament. So yeah, then you have that 10 of these teams self-proclaiming they are professional gamers, right? Or professional team. Well, they are professional team. Before I go into that, right? So when this, I think it's not wrong to call them professional or not professional, because they are so good anyway, because they keep winning. So, but the problem is, when this team becomes so famous and they're big and so on, right? I'll give you an example, right? There's this new organization. Maybe I call them Yunus Esports now, for example. So Yunus Esports organized a tournament with a prize pool of 2,000 ringgit Malaysia. And this so-called 10, self-proclaimed professional teams also, join the tournament as invited teams.
Okay.
Yeah. So when you do invited teams, right? For example, they don't need to go through all the qualifiers and so on, whatever. So in the end of the day, they
Okay.
just being brought up into the top 16 already. so so this is what is currently happening in Malaysia,
You,
where you
the
don't.
way the way you make it sound,
Yep.
is that there's a problem with the definition of professional within the esports community, right? It's just
Okay.
like, because in football, mate, it's very clear. You know what a professional football team is, what a semi-pro football team is, and what's an amateur football team. team is, right? So it's very clear. So despite the fact that you could be, hosting 11 players who are like world champions and go for
Yep.
tournaments and beating the
Yep.
crap out of, professional
Yeah.
players, but
Yep.
because you don't pay a salary like professional teams, you're still
Yep.
considered semi-pro or amateur. Do
Yep.
you do
True.
you have a clear definition like that in esports, or like,
No,
a
no, we
lot
don't
of
have. Right.
self-proclamation?
Like I told you, esports organize an esports tournament, right? The prize pool is maybe 5,000 or 2,000 ringgit. So all this professional team, they would want to look for because this is still based on my observation. This organization pay their players via tournaments winnings. That's
Oh, okay.
but
So so
there are some teams where they have
uh-huh.
big backers, where they pay salary and so on. But in the end of the day,
Okay.
you have to go. Tournament. There's a tournament you need to go, and in order for you to receive a bonus or bigger salary, then you need to make sure that you win the tournament.
I just want to ask you, like all good players here in Malaysia or anywhere
Yep.
around the world, right? Are
Yep.
they normally associated with a club, which they get salary on a monthly basis, or are they like, are they like, like mercenaries for hire, right? So when there's a
Yeah.
tournament, they go in, someone backs them up, and then if
Yeah.
there's another tournament, they'll go and play for that other team. Is it something like that, or
Okay,
how is it?
maybe, yeah, maybe since you asked that, so in Malaysia we have like legitimate professional teams whereby they are form of a professional organized company or clubs or whatever that don't play tournaments in
Mm.
Malaysia, but they're actually being they actually compete in tournaments outside of Malaysia where it's an official tournaments by, for example, PUBG Mobile, right? So they have a World Cup for that. So these are the professional teams that is owned by a legitimate corporation or
Who
organization that
who who recognize them as legitimate? Is it like the Malaysian government, or the
no,
association, Esports Malaysia? No. Then
no.
who necessarily recognize them as a legitimate professional team? Is there like a
As long
FIFA or something?
No, I think let's talk about PUBG, right? So PUBG is owned by Tencent, right? So I think
Yeah.
whoever qualified into the World Cup or whatever it's called, the pro leagues. So those are considered professional players straight away, because I think how Tencent runs
Based
the
on qualification.
yeah. I think how PUBG or Tencent runs the PUBG Pro Leagues are actually similar to how NFL runs their league, in some way less, or even MSL, right? Major League Soccer, something like that. I'm not sure about how detailed they go, but I think it's more or less that people get salary, get pays, and if you win, you win. I think previously a Malaysian team won. The team was called, no, sorry, I forgot. I think they won around 180,000 US dollars as a team.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Okay. I mean, one thing I can agree with you, mate, is that esports is such a huge sporting property at the moment, right? And not just because it's COVID, right? But I mean, even
Yeah.
before,
Yep.
during COVID
Yep.
19, it's such a big sport. It's just a big sporting property that can stand on its own. I don't think there's
Yep.
a need for the community to really be bothered and have this and stop this debate about whether or not we should go to Olympics. I don't think that's necessary. You look at UFC,
Yeah.
you look at One Championship, they're
Yeah.
like one of the two most biggest entertainment slash
Yep.
sporting property in the world,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? And they couldn't even be bothered about being in the Olympics or not. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah,
They're in their own world, right? Just like esports, we're in our
yeah,
own world. Why
yeah,
do you have to
yeah.
like why do you have to put the same level, gamers to get you want to put gamers as the same level with the 100-meter runners. What for?
You can
That's
have your own Olympics, right? You can have your own
yeah.
Olympics. You can have your own international, esports Olympic committee. You don't
Yeah.
necessarily have to be a part of them, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool.
True.
Dude, we don't have much time. There's only a few minutes left. I just want to ask you one last thing. Yeah, I mean, what is your hope? What is your hope for esports, especially in Malaysia? Because I've been talking to a few friends, and a lot of them are saying that Malaysia is a bit backward in comparison to a lot of countries in Europe, China, or in the United States. What is it that we can do as a community, or what can esports Malaysia or the government can do to amplify and to enhance the industry much further, right? Any any suggestions what we can do, mate?
Well, when about suggestion, I think there's so many suggestions, right? And even if you want to, even the governments, all we are having is just a moral support, and not to say if we want to talk about funding, right? I think we heard budget 10 million ringgit Malaysia, and the next came 20 million.
But it's
So
not any.
I don't know where that money went. So if you say you want a government support, right? So what's the support, with that money, right? But moving forward, right, for esports in Malaysia, and I think it's about people being more open. Just for example, I think COVID-19 really actually raised the value or the bar of esports itself. Even football players or football teams or MotoGP racers actually embark on the video gaming segment,
Yeah,
right?
they're
For
converting, right?
yeah, and for me, it's about in the end of the day, it's about making the esports industry, being on the same par as the legitimate sports or conventional sports level. But you don't need to compete with sports. I play Dota. I don't need to compete with football or what. I have my own world. I have my own fan. All I hope
Yeah.
is that people understand. The difference between sports or esports. If you want to talk about athletes, right? If you look into definition, right, you talk about physical people with physical or endurance strength, whatever, right? But why do we gamers want to call ourselves an athletes? Why don't we just call ourselves an electronic athletes, just like
Gamers.
how we call gamers, right?
Or
It's not
just
wrong,
gamers,
man.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because in the end of the day, right, I just want to, if I'm professional athletes in esports, I just want to, be pronounced or being called a pro gamer. That's all, because I play games, for a living. I trash my opponent, via games, not trash my opponents to football or whatever, right? you
All
know
right. All right.
looking forward, there's so many things, right? But let's go to the fundamentals, right? It's about being, gamers. Just be a gamer. You don't need to compare yourself with a 100-meter runner, because you're never gonna win anyway with them, if you run.
Is this is
But
this exclusively your opinion, mate? Or I mean, like the other. I mean, the other esports community doesn't agree with this. I mean, they because a lot of people are striving to be
yeah,
recognized as an athlete, to be recognized as a sportsman or woman. You,
yeah.
however, sounds like you don't give much crap about it. You just want to be recognized as a gamer and you're happy with it. Is this just you, or there is also members in within your community that that that,
I don't know.
that has that kind of
Some
same?
some may agree, some may disagree. But if you look at it, at a different point of
What is
view,
what is
maybe
esports? What is esports Malaysia's stand, man? Is it
what is it?
does it resonate with your view?
I
Esports
don't think so.
Malaysia.
They still want to be like the Sukma for Malaysia, like, the end of the day. No offense, it's okay. Like I say again, just be in Olympic. At least
Yeah.
you can have something to tell your. Let's say you have a kid, like, hey, I want to be an esports player. So why not, right? At least you can play for a medal, you play for winning. But I love to look at things in a different perspective. So at least the different perspective so is much more bigger, rather than you just want to compete in Sukma or whatever. We can always have an island of esports itself, right? just like how you have a Formula One track, all around the world. They don't care about Olympics, but GT, Asian GT, they have their own fans. Golf. What are sports not in the Olympics? Yeah, MMA, right?
Yeah, mixed martial arts. There's a lot
Yeah,
of them, man. A lot of
yep.
them. Squash. It's not there too.
Yeah, squad.
All right.
Extreme games. They don't even care, man. I don't care if I'm in the Olympics or not, right? Lewis Hamilton, he doesn't really care, if he's in the Olympics. I'm the Formula One champion, man. So what?
That's a that's
So
a
it's
that's a very
yeah,
I mean, it's not just an interesting point of view, mate, that you have here, but I think it's a
yeah,
common point of view, right? A lot of
yeah,
sports, a lot of entertainment. Yeah, they just
yeah,
they have that. I mean, what's important is commercializing the
yep,
property, right?
yep,
So that it could become a professional entity in itself. People get
yep,
paid. People can be called
yeah,
professionals because they get paid on a monthly basis, right? Similar to
yep.
football,
I think,
similar
yep,
to the UFC and all. I think that's
So I
more
think the best,
important
yeah,
than
yeah,
this.
yeah. I forgot to give one example. I think the best example is the international Dota. They don't care man, if they're in the Olympics or whatever. They have like world circuits, world tour. You have the pro leagues tour all around the world where you need to collect points, and professional teams or organization from UK, the Europes, the United States, China, Australia are all competing. Just like how I think I can relate it closely with F1. You have teams compete against each other, you know, going tours around the world. Then you have the main finale. Only Formula One you doesn't have a finale, but Dota you have the international, prize pool worth of, I don't know, 30 million US dollar, right?
Holy crap, man! That's a lot shit. Loads of money.
Yeah.
All right, dude. I think time's up. Right.
All right.
Thank you for your time. I think it's a very, very good insight. Um,
Yeah.
because we've been swarmed with a lot of debates about this particular debate, like whether
Yep.
gamers should be considered as an athlete or not. You absolutely gave us a different perspective altogether, fresh,
Yeah.
and I really like the way you put it. It's not new. The way your view is basically common and it's being shared by every other sport. Example of
Yep.
Dota, who has its own world, and the fact that it's
Yeah.
run very properly makes it really professional, and that's the aim where esports should be going, rather than needing to be recognized as an Olympic sport in the very
Yeah.
first
Yep.
place.
Yep.
Great, man. Great insight. Thank you
Focus
very
on,
much for your time.
yeah.
Sorry.
Thank you. No, no. Focus on building your own world rather than you want to go into another world.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I
Right,
agree
man.
with
Thank
that.
you,
I
man, for
agree
your
with you.
time. Right.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your time. Cheers,
Yeah.
mate.
Yeah. You're welcome. Cheers,
For
mate.
all the viewers, that was Hasman. We're going to have another episode next week. We're contemplating in bringing in a few people here. Um, Keep tuning in to Ballers as well as to BahasBola, because the announcement of the next program will definitely be there. It'll be up in the next 1 or 2 days. Yeah. So I hope you like the pilot episode with Hasman Hassan, our special guest for tonight, and hope to see you guys. Bring along your friends, families. Let the whole world know that between two halves, 15 minutes of really hardcore, good question, good discussion about the most controversial or the most talked about topics in the country. Thank you very much, and see you guys next week.
Okay. Bye bye.